Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are taking a final look at the Tier 9 UK, I guess you could say, the Royal British Battleship, the Lion, and oh boy, we have a doozy. If you want a good nail-biting game, this is it. We are playing on everyone's favorite map, and playing the favorite mode on this map, Tears of the Desert, playing Epicenter. We have a Montana, Kurfürst, Lion, Des Moines, Hindenburg, Neptune, Kutuzov, Gearing, two Shimikazes, Fletcher, and a Harikaze. On the enemy team, there is a Conqueror, Yamato, Missouri, Des Moines, Zhao, Edinburgh, Chapayev, Gearing, two Shimikazes, Fletcher, and Yugamo. So as you can see, there are quite a bit of destroyers, and that's not particularly or better yet, it's not particularly a great time to be in a battleship when you see all those amount of destroyers. So things are going to be interesting. Now there's going to be something I'm going to point out at the post results that I found rather a bit amusing, but I won't talk too much about it. So starting off, Lion is definitely a lot better than the Monarch. You definitely get the full potential of what the British battleships can do. Has the amazing heel, has actually really big guns, yes, still has the semi-penetrating armor-piercing shells that the British battleships always have had. So long range doesn't do that great, actually getting citadels, but close range usually is definitely more reliable. HE is obviously very devastating, 50% fire chance on the Lion, so overall not too bad. You do have 9 guns and 3 turrets, and not too bad. Now generally I've noticed whenever I play my British battleships is I don't always load the HE. I think the AP is pretty decent. Don't get me wrong, the HE is fantastic on British battleships with that higher fire chance and that high HE penetration. Can do downright devastating damage, but your AP is just as good. And that's, I guess, one good thing about this battleship is that you do switch between quite a bit. And I do run the expert loader on my Lion, so do get quick reload rates whenever I change shell type. So that is something I definitely do recommend. So starting off, we're kind of pushing in, trying to push into the middle. I don't really want to go along the outside, and well, I don't really want to spoil it. I'll wait. I think I'm gonna wait till a little bit before I point this out. But if you guys can catch something on the minimap that I don't even realize until near the end of the battle, when it would have really mattered, yeah, I would not have been very happy. Alright, so starting off, we have already lost a ship to the enemy Conqueror. There is obviously the Conqueror and Yamato on the eastern side of the map. And the Lion is nice. The Lion has very good detection, which is very beneficial. You can see right there the expert loader is kicking in, and it does have the spotting craft. Now the spotting plane does allow you to extend out your range to 24.9 kilometers, which is extremely beneficial, especially if, say, a Yamato is well outside your normal range. And this is one thing I do like about the Lion over the Conqueror. Conqueror doesn't even have any spotter craft, but that dispersion went all over and we didn't even land a hit. Now the Lion, or better yet the British battleships, have fairly weak turrets, as we do see the enemy Yamato firing and opening up on us. Well, we do lose a turret, so that is one thing you do have to keep in mind whenever using the British battleships. You will probably lose, or at least have your main batteries incapacitated every now and then. So that is probably one negative aspect, and that's probably one good tactic you can use against the British battleship, is always fire at their main turrets if you need to, especially if they are going bow on. And shot out at the Chapayev. Unfortunately, no citadel, but we do get around 9, almost 10,000 points of damage. And in this battle, it's really going to come down to who has the better destroyers. Enemy Fletcher is starting to push in. I am obviously focusing on him, but unfortunately only A few shells get through, and we only get a over penetration, so no full damage on that Fletcher, but that has weakened him up a little bit more, which is extremely nice. Does ensure that we possibly can take him out later on. Now, obviously, I am very limited on what targets I can shoot. But right now, the Des Moines and Chapayev are probably my better option, especially since the Des Moines and Chapayev both have radar, and that radar can be pretty devastating. Now, it's actually rather a bit funny that I actually landed shots on the Chapayev instead of the Des Moines. Not exactly the ship I was wanting to shoot at, but unfortunately, it was the ship that did take the hit. Alright, so good thing is the tier 10 battleships on the enemy team are very low in health. Now our ships have essentially lemming trained over to this island. The majority of our forces are right behind this island, with obviously a few exception of a few destroyers. So yeah, I'm not overly crazy with this idea of being behind this island. But switching over to HE, we do get a fire on the enemy Yamato. Should help him burn down. And one thing I will once again talk about the AP. The AP, even against a enemy Yamato, if you're within roughly around 10 kilometers, you can get those citadels. You can do it against Iowas and Missouri. So always be aware that your AP is very devastating. And just be aware. Don't always keep to HE. Don't always rely on it, but it's still pretty good. Alright, so enemy Shimakaze is really ballsy, as you can see. He's within 6 kilometers of myself. Obviously, there is a big island separating between myself and him, but the enemy team is ahead in ships. They are obviously ahead in points. They've maintained the center ring for some time, and things aren't looking very good for us at the moment. We just lost our tier 10 cruiser, the Des Moines, and right now I'm currently pushing out west. I'm hoping to possibly catch that Shimakaze. I'm expecting him to come running around the corner. That's why obviously I am focusing my guns on him, but does not look like he is doing that. Yamato finally goes down to a hell of torpedoes, wall of skills from the enemy Shimakaze, and enemy Yugumo is starting to slow up and pop smoke, and still hoping that Shimakaze will pop up, but unfortunately not going to be the case. Open up a salvo against the enemy Yugumo. Shimakaze goes down to the Fletcher, and we get our very first kill of the game. So that is one less destroyer. The enemy team has 2 destroyers to our 4. But they obviously have quite a few ships. I think we're actually now pulling ahead, which is actually very, very nice. That has brought the difference in points kind of into a more manageable number. But they still have a few of their top tier ships. So that is something we do have to be well aware. Now, normally, whenever facing off against a Conqueror, I'm not a big fan of firing HE. I think, obviously, AP is going to do far more damaging job to the Conqueror, because the Conqueror can actually repair vast majority of light damage and fire damage. So that is something you do have to keep in mind. But generally, at this range, well, AP probably would have been fine. But at least getting some fire damage on the enemy Conqueror would have been beneficial, but unfortunately that last salvo did not get any damage. Alright, enemy Missouri is doing the whole one-trick pony. Let's sit in a spot and aim our bow, but we do get a reset, so that should help our team a little bit, possibly bring back. Now the enemy Conqueror is starting to push in. Now the once again, very nice thing about the Lion, and as we have just lost our curve first to the Conqueror, is her very low detection, 11.5 kilometers. So this is allowing me to get on the side of this Conqueror. I'm going to see if I can get a good shot at this Conqueror. The angle is looking pretty decent. The distance AP, well, we'll see. We'll see how well the AP does against the Conqueror at this distance. Now, the lion sometimes has odd dispersion. Generally, what you will find, and that was actually really nice salvo there, almost 20,000 points of damage on the Conqueror. But generally, what you will find is the horizontal dispersion is pretty wide, but the vertical dispersion is fairly tight, which due to the fact of its high sigma value. But you still get these random dispersions where they kind of go every which way. And that salvo, unfortunately, was not as damaging to the Conqueror, but it's definitely helping out. Now, once again, our destroyers are doing a fantastic job, so high props to the enemy destroyers, except for maybe one. But so high props to the destroyers. Do get a torpedo on this Conqueror that is causing him to flood out. I do switch over to HE because he has used his damage repair and he is currently trying to heal up. Now I want to at least get a fire on this Conqueror. That would be a permaburn for a minute there, and if I could get 2, that should help bring him down very, very quickly. Now this Conqueror is pushing in quite heavily, and I don't exactly know why, and for whatever reason do not get a fire on that Conqueror. And I do go ahead and switch over to the APs to see if I can get a good penetration on the enemy Conqueror. Now our team, once again, I mean, all considering we were kind of down there, not really doing our best, is starting to pull back, and we kind of take the kill. But I mean, we did pretty significant amount of damage against that Conqueror, so I would say that was not technically a kill steal there. So enemy Tier 10 battleship is now officially dead, leaving only the Missouri, a cruiser, and 2 destroyers left on the enemy team. I do have AP loaded. I was hoping to get a AP salvo off against the Missouri, but he does pull away, so I do switch my attention over to the enemy gearing. That did pop up for a moment. We do get some penetrations, but not too much. And now we have just unfortunately lost our Hindenburg to the enemy gearing. And like I said, this game's comes really down to the wire, so very exciting. We do have about 7 minutes left on the clock at the moment. And did I mention that, albeit a lot of lower class British battleships can't seem to penetrate, and Citadel battleships, well, just watch this. Enemy Missouri is starting to pull away. We get a pretty good hit, all saying, around 11,000 points of damage, so overall not too bad. Obviously gearing is still a potential threat. The Lion is probably one of the worst. Can't really handle the torpedo impacts, has a very low torpedo protection, but watch this. There we go. Got a Citadel on that Missouri, leaving him only with 11,000. And if only we had one more over penetration, we would have gotten the kill. But he is going to go down, possibly to the friendly gearing, I believe. Enemy gearing does pop up. We do have HE loaded, so we should be able to get the good salvo off. And that dispersion was all kind of, it was crazy there. Did not go really right where I wanted to. Unfortunately, our Shimakaze is going to go down. Had our dispersion been much tighter, probably would have killed this gearing prior to losing our Shimakaze. But that is unfortunate. Obviously, I am concerned about torpedoes because, once again, the Lion does not like torpedoes at all. And there we go. That is our 3rd kill of the game. The Missouri in that time has gone down. And all that's left on the enemy team is a low health Shimakaze and about 3/4 health Zhao. Look at that. Look at this. This is instrumental in this game. That Shimakaze is sitting at 64 points of health. 64 points. If someone just looked at it in the wrong direction, it would burst into flames and be destroyed. But unfortunately, he does disappear, and we do get a Citadel on the enemy Zhao, and we have earned Confederate, so not too bad. We are obviously being spotted by the enemy Shimakaze. Now, I did mention something earlier in the game that I wanted you guys to kind of pay attention to on the mini-map. you probably have noticed that there is a destroyer that has not moved. The friendly Harikaze actually has been in AFK this entire time. And it's going to be a big factor here in a little bit. Obviously, Zhao is now pushing in. And I'm concerned about the Zhao. Zhao actually has really good torpedoes, but obviously he does have to show a lot of broadside in his rear just to get them off. So I'm actually going to start pulling away from him. And this is probably really one thing I should have just done right here. I should have switched over to HE, because obviously the Zhao is going to just be firing, staying bow on to us the entire time. And honestly, I probably should have switched my attention to the Shimakaze here, especially considering I did have one turret available. And yes, I know, I kind of balls this up. I should have switched over to HE. Probably would have finished this out off much quicker than I did. Torpedoes are inbound, and I think, unfortunately, we are going to eat at least one. I do pop my damage, or my repair party, just to try to soften up the damage. Fortunately, manage to survive, and once again, really should have just switched over to HE. This Zhao would have been dead a lot sooner, but I just had it in my head with AP. Don't know why, but in that time we did earn high caliber. Zhao has started to focus on us, and once again, had I switched over to HE, our friendly destroyer probably would have stayed alive, and this battle may have went a little bit differently. But all that's left on the enemy team, as we have just sunk the enemy Zhao, is the Shimakaze. Now now this match is very close to going the worst way possible. Obviously, I'm pulling away because there is a Shimakaze alive, and at least 2 torpedo hits, 2 or 3 roughly, from the enemy Shimakaze will mean my death. And just look at how much health the Gearing has. 660 points of health. Now, obviously, this Shimakaze is near us, well within 11.5 kilometers. So it is very plausible that he might be trying to torp us. And the enemy Shimakaze has begun to cap the center ring. And look at the timer. There is roughly about 2 minutes left on the timer. I do launch my plane just in case I can possibly try to torp him. We are being targeted, which does mean it is possible that the enemy Shimakaze is possibly dropping torps. But we'll see. Now the Gearing is pushing in, and keep in mind the Gearing is low health too. One shell from the Shimakaze will mean his death. But at the exact same time, the enemy Shimakaze is low on health as well. One shell from the Gearing will also mean his death. And the enemy team is almost 100 points ahead of us, and there's a minute and a half left in this game. So this game is a game we're going to lose. It's really going to come down to our Gearing, and this is where I noticed that obviously that enemy friendly Harikaze is AFK. Had that friendly Harikaze just right now, just came back right now, probably would have secured us this game. Probably. But unfortunately, well, I don't want to spoil it. We'll see how things turn out. So obviously I'm going to go ahead and turn around, try to support our Gearing if the enemy Shimakaze does pop up. Because obviously if the Gearing does spot the Shimakaze, he'll be spotted and I can blap him. But once again, the enemy Shimakaze has actually left the ring and is disappearing. I wonder where he is. There is less than 30 seconds left on this battle. Friendly Gearing is trying to rush towards him. I don't know if the Gearing does have RDF, and the enemy Shimakaze is spotted. And let's see how it turns out. Gearing opens up, misses. Shimakaze is returning fire. Unfortunately, we lose our Gearing, but at the exact same time, Shimakaze goes down. Alright, so our team earned a victory on a last minute shot came down to those final moments. And keep in mind, we had just seconds left in that battle. Had that Shimikaze been able to speed away a little bit quicker, we probably would have lost this match, but instead we did earn a victory, and high praise to the Gearing for getting the killing shot and winning us the battle. We brought home 519,773 silver, 6,586 XP, and 330 free XP. We earned high caliber and Confederate. We did 156,392 points of damage, 68 shell hits, 5 incapacitation, 4 kills, 4 fires, 2 citadels to defend a base capture, 2 assisted base capture, and 5 secondary hits. Now, before I go to the team score screen, I want you guys to guess how many, and as many of you may know, recently there has been a lot of clan wars. There are 4 different leagues. Top league is Typhoon. Now I want you guys to pause it, go down into the comments, comment how many Typhoon players were on my team and how many Typhoon players were on the enemy team. Just Typhoon. I'll quickly wait a moment. Alright, that should be enough time for you guys to guess. Alright, so our team, we were top of the with a base XP of 2,778. Our team had 1 Typhoon player, which was myself, versus, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Typhoon players. Now, albeit I will probably say right here, right now, just because they are in a Typhoon clan, does not mean that they're always good. I will say that right now. It's fully plausible that they're just in there and maybe they didn't even participate in the clan wars. But most times whenever you're dealing with a high-end, high-ranking, high-league clan, they have very high standards. More than likely they are really good players. So I really want to say F you, matchmaking. But I will give props to our team. Our team did a really fantastic job. Definitely brought us back from the verge of death. So high props to them. Especially the Gearing, the Montana captain, and the Shimikaze captains. I mean, they all did a really fantastic job, except for maybe 1 destroyer. Anyways, moving on to the detailed reports. Conqueror was one of our kills. We did around 52,387 points of damage. Zhao, we did around 32,907. Gearing, we did around 12,000. Yugamo, around 5,000. Missouri, around 29,000. And the enemy Yamato, around 12,000. Main battery guns did 134,800. High explosive shells did around 27,857. Armor piercing rounds. This is probably something you guys don't overly expect from a British battleship. AP shells 106,943. Once again, AP shells are good on the line, and including the Conqueror. Fire damage, 20,060 points of damage. So yeah, I just did not fire a lot of HE in the battle. Probably hindsight 2020, I know, but probably should have switched over to HE against that Zhao. Probably would have killed him off a lot quicker and ensured the life of one of our destroyers. But yeah, you just get into the moment and you kind of slips your mind. Overall, not bad. This was a very fun, exciting battle. I know watching it is quite a bit differently from playing it, but hopefully you guys did enjoy that very close battle. And with that, we are going to go ahead and jump into the port and take a look at the stats from there. I will see you guys in just a moment. All right, everyone, welcome back to the port, and that was a very, very close battle. The Lion, she's not bad. She is definitely has a few of her bonuses, and then she has some negative aspects with her. I mean, just like any other ship. But she's definitely a ship that I would call fairly good and is capable of handling herself in battle. Many times what will occur is you almost rely on that repair party, and if you do that and you just charge in thinking you're invulnerable, you'll get focused down. The ship is very susceptible to focus fire, so you do have to be extremely cautious. Don't sit all the way in the back, but be aware of your positioning, and you can do really well with the ship. But let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. Survivability. She obviously has one of the lowest health pools there is compared to any of the tier 9. It makes her very, very vulnerable. Makes her very easily to be picked off. Granted, she does have an amazing heal, but that only allows the heal for fire damage and light damage. So if you are getting hammered away with AP and possibly even getting Citadel, which is extremely difficult and nigh impossible with the Lion, don't expect to be living for very much longer. Her armor is decent. Her broadside is 381 millimeters, and it's definitely not the greatest. Probably one thing you will experience a lot is HE damage is very, very powerful against you. Granted, once again, you can repair that, but focus down, you can go down pretty darn quick. So Citadel sits very, very, very below the waterline. Very below, which is actually really super nice. It makes her very, very difficult to actually get outright killed. However, once again, yeah, you really gotta be cautious. You have to use her concealment to your strengths to be able to survive for very much longer. Now, one horrible reason why this ship has a lot of issues is her torpedo protection. She cannot handle torpedoes compared to, say, the other tier 9s. She will go down fairly quick. I believe the Freddy is worse than the Lion, so if you played a Freddy and you know how well it does not like torpedoes, you are well aware how much the Lion doesn't like it. However, the Freddy has a much greater health pool than you do, so you do have to be really, really cautious. One other most thing you have to be aware, she is kind of a big ship. She's very lengthy and she's kind of wide, so it does make difficult trying to avoid torpedoes whenever they are shot at you. I've had many times not be able to fit a gap, or due to the rudder shift, taking a torpedo on the nose. So it can be quite annoying with a ship when trying to avoid torpedoes. So that's definitely one thing you have to be aware. Alright, main guns. Main guns are actually really decent. They have a decent reload rate, 26.4 seconds. They do fire 419. You do have 9 of them total. Dispersion is probably one of my major issues with this ship. It has downright abysmal dispersion at times. Sometimes you get these great groupings and you're like, oh yes. And most times they seem to go all over which way, and it can be actually quite aggravating. HE damage is, well, obviously pretty decent. 7,200. You have a 50% fire chance, so HE is really nice. However, I don't generally use my HE all too often. Your AP is actually fairly decent. Max damage on AP shells is 13,000 points of damage, and close range, you can Citadel. Now, granted, at long range, obviously the Ismo and the Iowa are going to have a much better advantage since they are using normal AP and not the semi-penetrating AP that the British battleships use. But at long range, you can get penetration values, and it is even possible to Citadel occur first. I have done that at one time. It was actually rather amusing. But close range is probably where she's really, really decent. The AP can penetrate and Citadel, especially against Iowas and Missouris and even Yamatos, which I know is not saying very much compared to, say, the Montana, which has a now lowered Citadel. But close range AP is actually really fantastic. And like I said, I don't heavily rely on the HE, as you did see there. I think she's actually a really decent AP user, but her HE is very, very viable as well, so that is something to keep in mind. Range on the guns is not the greatest, 20.7 kilometers compared to some of the other tier 9s. She definitely doesn't have that range, so she can't compete against other battleships at range. And the velocity on the shells is sluggish. AP shells will go 747 meters per second, and HE will go 792. So you do have to provide a little bit of lead just to ensure that your shots make it to target. Secondary guns, when you do use them, they're all right. I mean, they're not amazing. 6.7 second reload time, 1900 points of damage, 9% fire chance, 5.3 kilometer range. So yeah, secondary is not bad. Main guns, I think probably the downright terrible thing is that dispersion at times. And at long range, HE is probably going to be your friend more than AP. AA defense is, once fully upgraded, really decent. Definitely can shoot down planes, especially if you have not lost many of your AA guns, especially against tier 8, 9, and 10. 10 is a little bit scary because as far as this captain's concerned, I don't have AFT, so I don't have that additional range and can't do as much damage as I would like. You do have 4 single 40mm Bofors. They do an average damage of 38 with a 3.5 kilometer range. Then you have 6 dual 40mm Bofors. They have an average damage of 150 with 3.5 kilometer range. And your main AA guns, you have 10 6 turret 40mm 321 average damage and 3.5 kilometer range, and then your additional AA comes from your secondary guns, 8 dual 134 with an average damage of 71 with 4.5 kilometer range. So AA is pretty decent. I could definitely recommend if you wanted to, if you feel like you need to, which I don't think is entirely necessary, but you could spec her more towards an AA ship. It's not as amazing as, say, the Iowa, but she can definitely hold her ground. And let's move on to maneuverability. She's decently quick. I do run this speed flag on her, so she can go a little bit faster, 31 knots in a straight line, so overall not too bad. However, her turning circle radius is something else, 830 meters, and then that rudder shift time is an abysmal 15.8 seconds. That is probably one of the most aggravating thing about the ship, is that her rudder shift time is quite slow, so it's very difficult to get changing directions. So you do have to be well aware of where you are, how close an enemy ship with torpedoes are, and also watch out for that island. So do be careful of that rudder shift time. Definitely a lot better than the stock version of the Lion, but it is still quite terrible. Now, one really nice thing about the ship, as many people know, is concealment is amazing. 11.5 kilometers. So this ship is probably the best as far as ambushing. So sneaking up to a target and catching them on their broadside using AP. This is really, really beneficial. I would almost say she's a really good brawler because of that low detection, as well as being able to pull away if needs be. You have, once again, a very, very, very low detection on the ships, so not bad. Detectability range by air is 10.2 kilometers, and while firing in smoke, 14.8. Once again, you probably won't be relying on smoke, but there's that if you do need to use it. So when you first get the ship, I would probably say go for the B hole. Honestly, benefit of this is it does provide additional health, AA mounts, as well as a decreased rudder shift time. That's incredibly nice. Downside of this is it requires around 57 or 58,000 XP to get it. So you're going to be grinding through a stock version for a while, trying to get the B-hole. Now, if you don't want to go that route, you can obviously go for, I would almost say go for the guns. Getting bigger guns is very, very nice. Does a much better job penetrating as well as dealing more damage. Range is nice, but honestly, I would say speed is a little bit better, and then possibly range. Now, obviously, it is a tier 9 British battleship, and it gets the Godly Heal. This will heal 1,629 points of light and fire damage per second, and it's active for 20 seconds. So you can easily get around 24,000 correct me if my math is wrong, actually around, yeah, 24,000, something like that. So really, really fantastic. Can bring you back to life. That is more than half of your health pool. So gotta love the heal on the British battleships. As usual, spotting plane is very beneficial. It does give you that additional range, as well as firing at targets in smoke. Work on that. It will definitely help you out, and I probably shouldn't be saying that, but since I do like my British cruisers. Upgrades. She has everything. I have gone for a main armaments mod 1. Damage control system mod 1, aiming system mod 1, damage control system modification 2, concealment expert, and then lastly but not least, main battery modification 3. Once again, this increases your load rate of your guns by 12%, which is so very, very nice. Now I probably should mention, I'm kind of surprised I did not mention this, is the turret traverse is pretty lousy. It is quite lousy, 40.2 seconds. So that will have to be something you have to be well aware, especially if you get in close. Your turrets will not turn that quickly. Nothing compared to the other tier 9 battleships. So with that upgrade, your turrets traverse a little bit slower. So that is something definitely keep in mind. All right, let's look at the captain. Captain Jack Dunkirk has some special abilities. Now, you could argue this would be better for a British cruiser, but honestly, it is working very, very nicely for a British battleship captain as well. Starting off, priority target. Always very nice to know who is aiming at you. Then expert marksman. Once again, Jack Dunkirk has a special ability. This increases the traverse speed of main guns over 139 millimeters by 1 degree per second instead of 0.5. So makes your turret traverse just that much easier. Superintendent, get that additional heal. Concealment expert, which is super nice. And then going back around, I have got Jack of all trades. Once again, Jack Dunkirk boosts this from 5% to 10%. Adrenaline rush. And last but not least, just to make the ship a little bit more tankier, fire prevention. Minus 10% to the risk of fires, just to help you out a little bit more. So overall, not bad. You could, once again, possibly go for basics firing training or advanced firing training, just buff your AA. Hell, you could even go for demolition expert just to make your HE that much more annoying. But once again, I don't always use my HE. So 50% is pretty nice as is. But anyway, we are saying goodbye to the Lion. We are finally getting the last tier 10 battleship in the game, the Conqueror. And yes, I know, I'm well aware of how everyone feels about the Conqueror. So finally moving on, finally getting that last tier 10 battleship, and then all that's left is the Pan-Asian destroyers until they release a new line. Anyways, this is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zai Jin.